think that's everybody. Good morning. Good morning. How are we? Like everything's working properly. Usually where we want to be, right? Appreciate that. Just working a doodle page this morning, I think. Ugh. Oh. Fit my headphones under my hoodie. So I think you gotta scoot this over a bit. And what are we looking at today? So I can't keep my head out of the way of the overhead camera. Not upset my dog too much. Don't drop anything on him. It's not like that at all. Not that anybody does, but what are we looking at here for reference today? It was weird when they switch up the. I understand why they do this, but they'll like rework the interfaces. Like I'm just looking over here at Pinterest, and it defaults to new inspiration rather than like the actual thing that you put together, which is just I don't get that. It's like here's the things that you haven't seen yet, which is good, but you're actually clicking in your collection, so it means you probably want to see what's in there. Maybe we'll mix and match on some of this stuff. I don't understand how a lot of these decisions get made. They don't ever ask me, so, do you want this? And the answer's probably going to be no. And they're like, oh, fine, we'll do it anyway. Right? So we'll take care of this real quick. That's better. Like actually a good example was yesterday. Maxon announced that they've got a new feature coming to ZBrush and all their other stuff. And anyone have any ideas what the new feature is inside of all Maxon applications? Give you a hint, it's something that most of the users don't want or have any use for. Any guesses what Maxon's inflicting on their paid users? So for those who don't know, Maxon, they make ZBrush, they make Cinema 4D, and a few other things. Those are the most important ones, probably. Any guesses to what they're gifting what new feature they've added in? To Maxon and ZBrush and all of that. No guesses. What they've done is they've added in a new image generator that creates backgrounds, and then it matches your renderers to that background. Because there's a big shortage out there is backgrounds for 3D models, right? That's what so the users really, really need is a background image generator, which is, talk about, minimal effort, minimal impact as a feature. But, that's what they do. So how's everybody doing this brand new year? It's funny, I get kind of feedback that people think I'm maybe a little negative on things. I am concerned, but I'm actually quite bullish on the future of art and artists. And honestly, I wouldn't be paying any attention to this Gen AI stuff if it wasn't for the job that I have. It's kind of forced me to be more aware of what's going on. You know, but you know, it's kind of it's been an interesting litmus test to kind of see what people are interested in and who they are. And it's been disappointing in a lot of cases. To see where some people stand. But I guess it's good to know. It's better to know than not. I suppose, right? And I suppose it's been helpful for me to kind of understand what's going on and why. And it tells me a lot about human psychology and where people are, what they're about. right? Let's show this up a little bit. Too much. So, but yeah, I could also be wrong. If I was seeing something that was like, oh wow, this is really amazing, and it's gonna amplify me, not the systems, then I'd probably look at things differently. But the evidence is kind of coming in, and it just kind of gets worse and worse. The more you kind of look at it, it doesn't really say, oh, this is going to be really helpful. It just says, oh, this is going to do the things you love, but it's going to do them in a way that no one's actually thinking about or caring about. And, but it'll do it fast, so I guess they count that as a benefit. But nobody asked me. As it were. All right. Also been experimenting with new tools I've been excited about for this semester, or for the new year too. Yeah. What have we got here? First off, let's move this off to the side so I don't accidentally hit my brush where I should not. Right? Making a fatal mistake. But yeah, it's interesting to see where people line up on these things. It tells you a lot. I think I saw should I imagine it's still up, but there's a new video from Cynic's design where he's showing off how much he loves AI. It's a really weird video to watch. I watched the whole thing last night. It got worse and worse the longer you watch, like his reasonings, his rationale, his approaches, what he's doing with it. It just was kind of sad. And it's always hard to kind of know what to do with that. He's not someone whose channel I've watched a lot of, and I don't think he's posted very much in the last while, but most of what he said was very ill considered. What he showed wasn't actually that interesting. I think you'd be really excited by doing turntables of 2D artwork and applying arbitrary textures to them, which seems like it would just get in the way of design, not actually help with it. And then what he said he liked about it was partially as it gave him a new perspective on his work, in spite of the fact that he acknowledges all of the harms that it causes. And it seems like there's, to me at least, other ways of getting fresh eyes on your work than using AI. But, some people are just deathly afraid of not being part of the newest thing. And I guess he's teaching for game art at Laguna College of Art and Design, which may explain his open-mindedness. Because I have a feeling, I don't know this, but I imagine that they, like many other kind of tech-oriented majors, they tend to adopt whatever the latest thing is. And without too much consideration. So it'll be interesting to see where things go, especially with him posting that kind of video content. I'm not sure quite what to do with it. It was really kind of disappointing to see someone who's got like this influencer status adopting generative AI, in spite of stating that he's well aware of harms that it causes. But I guess it's his reputation. But what are you going to do, right? Actually, I only really found one of his videos helpful for myself, but I'm probably in a little bit different place than other people are. So, Hello, Iran. How far did you ran? Bet nobody there makes that joke ever. Oh God, that is the reaction to my joke. Or are we talking about the cynics video? Hey, that's a flock of seagulls song, right? I ran so far away. Oh, good. I was playing around with my airbrush yesterday afternoon for some of this stuff here, splattering effects and all of that. Um, um, yeah, I haven't either. I bought one last. Um, well, actually, I bought it like a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago. And then I was playing around with the kit that I got, and then it got a little bit better, I guess, airbrush. Still not very expensive, but I figured it was a good kind of step up. A lot of times, the art supplies or anything is like you start with like the really cheap, or depending on what it is, um, version, and then you kind of build once you kind of feel comfortable with something like that, then it's worth played around with this. Oh, this is interesting. I can see the possibilities of how I would actually use something. Um, then kind of upgrade your stuff. So, well, these days a lot of the even the cheaper stuff is really good due to upgrades and the manufacturing processes over the last however long. Um, for example, like those. It used to be like it was only worthwhile picking up a Wacom tablet, and now there's a whole bunch of different companies that make ones that are very very good. And even if they break, buying 10 of them is cheaper than a single Wacom tablet. Um, so it's like I picked up a small-ish. Actually, I kind of wish I picked up a smaller one tablet for my work, my school laptop, and I didn't use it all that much, but it was like just thought it would be handy to have, and it's lightweight, and it was like $40 or $30 or something. And I think my first Wacom Intuos tablet I bought, which I used for a long time, it I think it was a couple $100 at least. Had a 7-pin connector. It's not even USB from way back when. So, it's kind of nice that these things are out there available to artists. This happens to be happening all at the same time as the AI nonsense is happening too. Yeah, the 7-pin connector that goes way back, before there were USB plugs. I think I bought mine in, let's see, it would be like 99 or 2000, something like that. Maybe 98. That would have been probably 2000 actually. But even the screen ones, the Cintiqs that aren't from the other brands, I can definitely feel that they're more cheaply made, that they weigh less and they feel more fragile. Yeah, it's funny. I was thinking about getting a new iPad, but I'm not really doing anything on my computer art-wise really much right now. And I think the AI stuff is like made me think. We can't rethink my relationship to the computer, and kind of the things that I want to do with it. But, I've been offline a bit for the last while. I had some family things came up, and then I had a bunch of work to do. And I actually got back to the studio here. I did get out to do some plein air painting when I was back home. That was nice. But I don't know if this nib is dead. A bit in there. So that was nice going out to Utah. Mountains and desert, and do some of that. Yeah. Well, the thing is, like, it's like they seem to think ideas come out of a machine, and it's not. That's like quite literally not an idea. Like, it'll have the opposite effect. I've got to organize my nibs, by the way. Other things in there, put everything in the bags a while ago. But it's like the opposite of having an idea. And I feel like I'm talking to crazy people half the time. And they go, yeah, it gives me all these ideas. Well, it's not an idea if there's no mind behind it. Like it's literally the not one. It's actually not an idea. And you're impairing your ability to come up with ideas. The weird thing too is that I've been reading these studies, and basically it even affects people who are already good at it. So people that a lot of people have argued, well, I've got this background in art and aesthetics. I've got all of this professional experience, and therefore I can use generative AI intelligently. Um, Oops, sorry, Bosh. It's okay, Bosh. It's just give me a pet on the leg. All right. I think he's still upset about throwing up last night. But I'll go over there, huh? But it actually, yeah, retards your ability to do things. There's lots of studies showing that. They haven't done a lot with the visual arts, but definitely with writing, science, things that are definitely very consequential. Hey, monkey, how's the smart Lego going? I saw some stuff about that. It kind of recognizes, I guess, certain codes or something. People are chatting about it. Make noises, turn on lights. I kind of feel like it overcomplicates things, um, but yeah, Bosch had a very, very long winter break. He was at my sister's for a couple of weeks, and I went back out to my family's to help, well, to see my parents, especially my dad, just before he passed away from his brain cancer about a week later. And then went back out there right away. So, for the funeral and all that. But Bosch was at my sister's for a good while during the November break, the Thanksgiving break, or fall break, as they call it. Well, they just don't call it Thanksgiving. That's what we have it there for. But and then he was out there with driving out to Utah, back, spending 3-ish weeks there. Yeah, it's definitely it's been he's survived a lot longer with the disease than people normally do, which so my mom's definitely the family's definitely grateful for the extra time. But he was really, really struggling there at the end. It's just brain cancer is just not the kind of cancer of the many kinds you can get that you ever want to get, because it just kind of eats at you in a very, very particular way. Um, it's one thing to have like a regular organ fail or on you, but to have your mind affected like that, it's just it's pretty brutal. Um, ah, Sweaty boy, but definitely get some nice expressive strokes on there. Um, but yeah, it's interesting watching the Jenny I stuff. People are BlackRock says there is no bubble. It's fine. So I guess we believe BlackRock. Yeah. Should be an interesting year as far as this stuff goes. I don't know how much longer they can kind of keep up the ruse. Or what it's going to look like on the other side. Yeah, I guess you were saying like your friends at school or people you work with at school, being excited about it, giving them ideas, and it just kind of tells you who does and doesn't have their own ideas. Because I know, like in my own department, most of the people that really, really like it, that are using it, are production people. So they're people that build things that other people tell them what it should look like, how it should work, and that's like the extent of their creativity in their job is executing on patterns and layouts and other things like that. They're not actually creative in the sense of idea generation, and I tend to see that a lot with a lot of the people that support AI. Um, we try out some of the airbrush stuff here. Yeah, it's kind of been, but it kind of shown me a lot of things. Like there's a lot of times where I've respected, you know, skill for kind of its own sake, which I think I still do. But if I don't see much in terms of people having their own visions for things, let's see. Oh, that was a big flop. What was that? There we go. Just made a big mess on the side. Actually, I kind of like the splatter, but look at that. So, I guess that's why you, well, A, you're supposed to pull back so it doesn't actually just puts out air. So it's just, oops, making a mess over here. That's what I get for learning new things, right? Not working properly here. Spitting out stuff. I can hear it. Frogs or something. Wow, man. That just tightens the trigger. That's open. Working fine yesterday. I'll try this flow improver, see if this makes any difference. Oh, they're on there. Really get this down, let's do that. Sorting out stuff. Well, I guess I'll just set that aside and figure that out later. Probably work fine once it's off camera. Cleaned it out, I thought, last night. But, really not make it out anything. There's a little splatter. And a little splatter. Which I like splatter. Splatter for that, man. So that's working for everything. Maybe the paint's, maybe the ink's just too thick. That's what I did for one of them. Oh, there's something. Check it. Like it's shooting air back in for some reason. Oh, maybe that was too fun. Stuff in there. Thought I figured it out maybe, but clogging it up. Bubbling up in the pot there, not sure why. What I'm doing here. Probably have to watch a video on top 10 mistakes new airbrushers make or something. Screw out a ton for some reason. I think somebody's losing it or something. Stop. Just started going, it won't stop. It's backfiring or something. Well, I don't know. I thought I figured it out, and I didn't, so. Did, however, squirt a bunch of ink all over the place. That's the kind of professionalism you can always expect from me, is making a mistake. Alright, where was I? Before I made a big mess there. I ran a bunch of fresh water through it last night, so. Also been getting caught up on movies I've missed in the last year. Shows I've missed in the last while. Like I watched Shogun this week. And then what was it? One battle after another. That was an interesting kind of a movie about idealism versus, dealing with reality and generations. I'll do washes too. Just brush. What have I been on anyway? 51 minutes. Okay. I do these pages where I just kind of fill up every part of the paper. Yeah, so I'm trying to get caught up on all the things I've left behind. I've spent the last couple days putting together my academic CV. Well, it took like 3 or 4 days. I finished it up the day before yesterday. It's 23 pages long, curricular vitae, and it's a little bit different, I guess. In Europe, they basically see a CV as like a resume sort of thing, and but in universities, you have to like go through and detail so many things, and normally most people, they'll teach at like one school or maybe two, a small number, but I've been at 7 if you include the current one, and so kind of reading up on what's wise to include, and the university has its own parameters of things they want to see in it. But I was kind of considering what other people are saying about CVs, and that I should probably include everything. I started teaching in 2004, and just felt it would be weird if I didn't include all of that, not just the appointments I have, but other things I was doing alongside it. And so, mm, yeah. But anyway, I felt like I really had to include everything, so it ended up being 23 pages because you have to not just say what you did and where and all those things, and what your position was, or so like but not just my academic jobs, but like the freelance clients and consulting and all the things that I've done at different phases. Um, but the service you did at the university, the classes you taught, what they were about, and so these categories of teaching, research, and service, and so I had to go through and detail all that out. And not just, oh yeah, the other thing I have to include is also contact information for these people. Some of them are dead now, so good luck with that. But um, actually, it was funny. One of the pieces I did, I forgot it actually got into a museum show. Um, yeah, some people on there too. I'm like, I'm not even sure how to contact some of them, even if they're, some of them are still alive or whatever. Um, so it's kind of an extra challenge. Like one of my old mentors, William Whitaker, he used to be really involved with the concept.org community, the Massive Black people. He's a classical painter, but he was kind of doing workshops and things with them. And he passed away a few years ago after major heart surgery, quadruple bypass, I think, quintuple, something like that. It was, you know, pretty heavy duty stuff. But I was a museum director. He's since retired, but I can't find any contact information for him online outside of, he has a website, but it's his email address he's using is for when he was at the museum. He's an author. He's written a number of books on artists and different time periods. Back when I was at home, I saw in the museum there was a video of him talking about an artist in Utah that brought sort of like a classical sensibility to the state. Established what's called Art City, which is a city called Springville, Utah, about an hour or so south of Salt Lake City. There's, that art museum is there. There's a lot of kind of art stuff that goes on in the city. And so we've got this guy who had been kind of the founder of that, John Hafen. And the show is interesting because it kind of showed the effect of him, because he got people to pay for him to go out to Europe to study at the end of the 19th century. So he went out to the Paris ateliers and kind of brought what he learned there. And you see his work kind of before he goes out. It's kind of your very typical, almost like folksy 19th century American artwork. It's clear he's kind of drawing not a lot from observation. A lot of it's from his head. He doesn't quite understand horse anatomy or facial structure and things like that. And then he comes back, after however long he was in Paris, and the work's very, very different. There's definitely a lot more sensitivity to light and color. He wasn't a young man anymore when he went out there. I think he was only alive for maybe 15, 20 years after that. Really like these G-pen nibs. So yeah, it's funny partially because I knew a guy in school who kind of did a similar thing. He went out to study, I think in Italy, not in Paris, but with these kind of atelier types out there. And he came back. I think it was Florence Academy of Art that he went to. And he came back, and because of the kind of person he is, like his skills improved. That was undeniable, but his work was still boring. And he's just kind of not. Yeah, like I wanted him to be kind of more interesting, but he's just kind of really boring, and he's not that intelligent. He was smart enough to marry money though, so his wife is apparently from a wealthy family. That's always helpful if you want to succeed or make art without having to worry about financial constraints. Is marry money. That's kind of fun. Okay. But I definitely heard that helps a lot. I did not, however, make those kinds of decisions, sadly, for my own benefit. Should be included as part of a business class. How to marry money. Yeah, one of my, I don't know, a lot of artists, they just don't care about this, but for me, it always, for some reason I do, with the inks, is that, like, I like to use the exact same ink, no matter what tool I'm using. And these parallel pens, I like them a lot. Got a class on marrying money. Helps to have, elongated eyelashes and hang out in Dubai or something, right? But these parallel pens, you're only supposed to use a certain kind of ink with them, I think, to prevent clogging. It's a water-soluble ink. And I like to have, inks like this that are permanent, that aren't water-soluble. And that kind of bothered me about it. And the ink, because seems like a lot of water-soluble inks kind of lean a little bit blue. So instead of being made out of like certain kinds of carbon, they're made out of plant carbon, so they kind of lean blue. And that doesn't matter to most artists. Like, they don't notice it because they just work in black and white all the time, so they don't think about the color as much. But I do. And I don't remember what I did where with what in order to kind of manipulate an image. I did find, so the cartridge that's in here, if I unscrew this lid right here, so this is the kind of cartridge it comes with, that you can buy new ones that are filled up for you. What I did is, let's see, where did I put that? I've got extra ones around here if I can't find them. Not sure where I hid it. But you can get these little syringes for ink to refill these kinds of things. And so I just pulled this off and refilled it with the this one kind of ink I'm using for all of my pens. And so it's got this ink in there, just like I'm using in my jar, or it's inside of my technical pens. Let's see what exactly syringes are, but they came with like a refill option for a refill kit. But I've got like 4 or 5 of them from that one bag. It's nice because I can just refill it. A lot of these refillers, like this is like a regular standard one. The size for this type, this doesn't fit. But these are nice because it basically has a screw thing on the back. And so the idea is you stick it in the ink, and then as you screw it up, well, you can see the plunger going down. So you stick that in, plunger's all the way down, dip it in the ink, and then you pull it up, and it pulls the ink into it. And then you can stick that onto a different pen. So I've got some other pens that do that around here. There's a syringe. Pop it if I can long enough. But this is the syringe here. It's not the kind you would ever want to poke yourself with. It's kind of fat on the tip. Look at my finger on it there. Yeah, you dip that. You hit the plunger, dip it into the ink, pull up, and then it fills up this reservoir. And then I was injecting it back into one of these. This is a parallel pen, so it's got like a flat tip. got one that's a little wider here too. I saw someone doing a demo of these. I was like, oh, that's really interesting. So I picked up a couple. They're not really, cheap or anything, but what's nice about them is they've got that flat side, but they're also designed to work just to like draw with the corner, so you can get really fine lines and also really fat ones. They're designed for calligraphy, is what they're for. So if you're looking to make calligraphic strokes, I saw some guy on YouTube who's doing a bunch of videos kind of showing how he likes to use them for thumbnails too recently. But you'll sometimes see, if you pay attention to inkers or comic book artists, you'll sometimes see this kind of in their jar on their desk. But it gets a really, really fine line with the drawn corner, and then draw a super fat one. But they're called parallel pens. And again, the ink they come with is not waterproof. So when I pull this out, it comes with a bunch of these. They have the regular ink in them. But once I kind of use it up, or you do is you can pop the top, and then you can just put it in a sink and wash it out if you want to put different ink in. But you get these little ink syringes, and you go. And they come in different widths. This is I think this is 3.8 millimeters, and the other one's like 1 point something. So where's the lid? So it's 3.8 millimeters. There's wider ones. I think there's like a 6 millimeter one. The one I tend to use the most is the 1.5. But so the smaller one. What's nice about having that flat edge is it makes it easier to kind of freehand a straight line. You put down that tip, and you can kind of just freehand a straight line either way, because it kind of rides on that flat. So it's definitely got, you got the 6, okay, that one's really wide. Thought about getting one just for fun, but I feel like it'd be too wide to be really of use. I tend to use the 1.5 a lot more. They're not cheap either. I think they were like 10, 15 USD, but they should last forever. And the reason I went with the Kohinoor ink is it's supposed to be non-clogging, because it's supposed to be used with, it's for, the technical pens like these metal ones that you have to refill. So it's supposed to kind of help prevent, these nibs from clogging up. It has a well in there too. That's really what it's for. So I figured if I use that in my jar, I use it in those pens, I use it on these and other things. Like I've got this one actually works better. A friend gave me, one of these pens, but it's not working right now. This one's the better one. One he gave me, it didn't really work that well. It was a gift, but I think it looks better once I get it going. But also, you can use it in brush pens too. So I've got this little brush pen, and so I'm using the same ink in here. And the same ink I was using in the airbrush. Yeah, so again, it's a water-soluble ink that it comes with, so it's supposed to not clog. If it does, it's not that hard to clean. You use the same stuff you would clean other things with. But if you open it up, it's got that cartridge in there. I've just been using those little syringes to refill them when necessary. So, yeah, again, it's a It's a regular kind of ink. I'm not sure if I've got. I had cartridges for it. Yeah, I thought I put them in the bag with everything else. There we go. Yeah, so oops, bag boxes fell out, but that's what you're supposed to put it as this stuff. So it's specifically special formulated ink, exclusively for parallel pens. So it comes with these, and I just kind of shove it on there, and it breaks the seal. And then you can stick that under water, clean it out, put whatever ink you want in. Just know that inks can't clog it. So I think is why they want you to use this kind of ink, because it's not going to clog it. But I actually got a cleaning kit for my technical pens over there. And so that's, so if it does clog, I can use that to kind of help flush stuff out. I guess there was kind of a refillable one like the one I was showing. They used to sell like these. They used to sell it for the parallel pens, but they stopped selling that a while ago. You can find it for really expensive, like pretty expensively online. Yeah, well, like these Kohinoor pens, again, they're basically kind of what you get with a micron, except you can put real ink in it. And they're not as popular as they used to be because they were used for drafting primarily, or technical illustration. That's why they're called technical pens. So might be low on, there we go. Here. Might just be a little bit low. They have like a metal tip. So they're not as common, but I found went on eBay because they're not the kind of thing that really ever wears out. Because it's got this metal tip here on it, and so it's not like they wear out. They can get clogged, but I found a kit that was basically largely unused. I think I haven't even put ink in all of them yet because I just don't need that many. Like some of them have. Is it this one? Hold on, let's see if we got one. Yeah, like this one's never been used. But you can find different kits like these on eBay. So I found one that was inexpensive. It was missing this wrench. So this is a way you kind of take it apart to clean it up. So you can use this to basically take the whole thing apart. And it attaches onto different parts of the. So if you open this up and you pull this out, basically you can pull all these parts apart if it ever gets clogged, and you can soak it in a cleaning solution. It's got like there's a special squeeze bottle that you put on the back. Basically, you can squeeze cleaning solution through the back, and it kind of forces out stuff. You can do it both ways to kind of clean out the interior if it gets clogged. But this goes on to here and allows you to remove different parts. So you can pull apart. You can pull the needle out. Like the whole thing's can break down the whole thing. It's like cleaning a gun, I guess, or something. I've only found I had to do it because when I didn't use the pens for a long time, but mine was missing. It's supposed to come with two in the kit, and it was missing both of them. Yeah, so if it has like I'm not sure where I actually put that. It's funny. I was talking to a friend of mine. He does religious paintings. Goes to a Catholic church, and there's in the United States. And he's like 5-ish, I think, years older than me, maybe a little bit more. There it is. So stick that on the back, and you can squeeze it through, and it's got some special attachments for it. So it allows you to put it over the top of the needle this goes into the back end of it. And it has a cleaning solution. But anyway, he's a few years older than me, and so when he was in school, they were still doing a lot of their stuff manually. Like they weren't using the computer hardly at all. And we used computer for some stuff when I was in school, but most of my professors hadn't never really used it for art making, maybe for cleaning up photographs or stuff like that. But most of them were very much traditional analog media illustrators. So I had to learn digital on my own, a lot of it, but a lot of like the processes for preparing things for print, they had already stopped teaching a long time ago. So he was showing me like a wax setter. It was a way of fixing text to a page. Still allows you to move things around a little bit. But that was kind of all very interesting because it was stuff that was never included with my education because they just didn't do it anymore. And you can still get them. So I've been looking for ways of affixing dialogue to the comic I've been working on, which I'm hopefully getting back to this week. I've got some time scheduled for it. But now that I've got most of my school stuff out of the way, I'm starting classes next semester. But that was really interesting. He's just kind of showing me that there's these tools and what it's called and where you get it. And, so I know in Europe, a lot of times what they do is they actually draw the text onto the page still. I think there's some artists that do it, but you really have to have a really finished script to do that. So maybe that's something I should consider. But I've been kind of going back and being more interested in these kind of older methods. Going kind of my little thesis about maybe the harm that jumping into digital has done to us. That maybe not that the use of it's bad, but that the over emphasis on it, I think, may have caused certain problems. Like one of my kind of ideas here in my head, I don't know that it's 100% or 80% or whatever accurate, but load up. But that maybe this has got one of those things loaded in here too. Yeah, it's full. Maybe I can use the plunger to squeeze the ink out. That'll work. Feels like it's a little clogged in there, but just because it's so much easier, you don't really have to pay that much attention to what you're doing. And I don't think AI is going to improve that at all, obviously. But that because you don't have to, you don't, because you can always update or tweak things later on, which sounds like a nice advantage, but it also kind of keeps you from really focusing on what you're doing at any given moment. I think that can undermine the qualities that you're looking for in your work, that by slowing down, it opens up opportunities for inspiration. It's one of the things I was going off on yesterday, but there's basically these three phases. I forget the official term for the first one, but there's basically this idea where you've got this initial insight into something, that there's this thing you want to do. And this goes across different media. It doesn't matter if it's art or engineering or history or writing or whatever, just building software. You have kind of this initial concept of what it is you want to accomplish. And one of the problems with generative AI is that you start to think that initial thought that you had is the thing, is the ultimate result, or something I think I've complained about on here. But it's like a really short-change way of actually going into real inspiration and insight. So phase one is kind of that initial thought that you have. The second one is they call saturation. And that's where you're doing your research, you're exploring, you're trying to figure out how things work or how they should work. You're just looking at what other people have done, what people need, what they want, um, things that have been said, related subjects, the research really, the in-depth analysis and thoughts that you're required to make something possible. Like part of what I'm doing is filling up sketchbooks, looking at reference, understanding story structure. For myself, those are all kind of saturation elements. And then the third one, which is kind of, I think if I remember correctly from the study I read a long time ago, they often list it as like the most important one. And that one's incubation. So um, letting that saturation and that insight just sit in your brain, and that you need to let it just kind of be there. And eventually, out of that incubation period is often where the ultimate insight comes from. So you're working and you're working and you're thinking and you're thinking, and then one day you're sitting in the shower, or you're out taking a WALK, since my dog is in here, and suddenly you have this kind of eureka moment where all the saturation and the research and the initial insight, they all kind of click together in your brain, and it really lets you move forward with that, whatever it is you're planning on doing. And kind of using Gen AI for an instant output breaks that whole process, and it convinces you that your initial insight is what's valuable. I did this as part of a painting series that actually didn't go very well, but I learned a lot kind of reading up on it, and you kind of see it a lot. It's like people that have like shallower thoughts, they tend not to spend a lot of time in the saturation. They don't do a lot of research. They just kind of jump into a project, into the completion phase of a project, rather than really saturating themselves in the subject and exploring it really, really deeply, that they tend to just like do that one thing the first time and expect that will give them good results. Anyway, I should probably stop there, move on with the day, and I'll talk to you all later.